All right. All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Joe Thompson. Nice to see y'all. Just in case you're wondering, I've dressed up for All-Star Weekend. And it is the theme of the night when it comes to Bob's presentation. Stay tuned. What is this?
Are you part of this?
I don't know. I'm the chapter president of this chapter. Thank you. My agent, Mike, likes to keep me in line. But everybody knows the Bad News Bears numbers. You know who this is? Can y'all guess?
Okay,
Number 3.
Name. Nobody knows that.
Kelly Lee. Nobody has seen Bad News Bears in here. Come on. Huh? That's not one of the greatest baseball movies ever? Anyway, well, I like it. And I guess that's all that. Anyway, okay. So we added a new member this month, all the way from Latvia, right, Chris? Mm-hmm. Pietro Striano. Pietro, mine, maybe the hour difference. All right, maybe that's something to do with it. So, yeah. So maybe Pietro watch this corny. So, thanks again for all of you who came last month to hear Arlene Lassie. I got a lot of good feedback for that. Quite a few of you were really impressed. Was at the Yankee game the other day. John Lloyd came up and said he really enjoyed that presentation. So, she wrote a book, of course, the very best of the hot flashes, essays that will warm your heart. She was she was part of the Hot Pants Philly Patrol. So, give it a look. Pretty interesting book. A couple things real fast regarding the Astros. In case you don't know, the draft's been going on. There's a lot of stuff online about that first pick. Drew Gilbert from Tennessee. I heard a lot of stuff from MLB Network. Hopefully somebody can kind of ring that guy in a little bit. Bring him in. You know, he's kind of a wild child kind of player. Some people said online he wasn't happy when he got drafted by the Astros, but I watched the replay. The kid looked happy to me. So he's an excitable guy. We also drafted Jacob Melton from Oregon State and Andrew Taylor from Central Michigan and some more players, but I just wrote down the top 3. Brian McTaggart, he had a tweet earlier today that said Astros are, quote, going up the middle with college players so far. Center field, right-hand pitcher, left-hand pitcher, right-hand pitcher, center, and right-hand pitcher. So, I don't know what they did after that. Also, from Brian, in a tweet yesterday, in case you haven't been paying attention, Astros closer Ryan Presley has thrown the equivalent to a perfect game by retiring 27 consecutive batters from June 25th to today. So he tied, and I don't want to destroy his last name, Dave Justin from 1965 for the club record for consecutive batters retired by a reliever. Anybody knows the MLB record?
With oil inning.
What? Yasmirio Petit.
You said perfect game or
No, retiring consecutive batters in a row.
perfect.
Yasmirio Petit, 2014, reached 46 consecutive batters in a row, and he broke Mark Burley's record of 45. So Presley has, 18 more to go? 19? What's that? The Giants.
What's that?
Yasmirio Petit. Okay. I thought that was interesting. So,
What year was it?
the article was from August 28, 2014.
During the World Series. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, all right. It's All-Star Week, of course. See how excited everybody is about the All-Star game. And yeah. Altuve's out. Right. Verlander's not going to pitch, right? And Jordan, he's out too. So I heard that at the Futures game yesterday, the Dodgers fans were very happy about any Astro that showed up. Shocking. People are just like, what the? Come on, LA. So, yeah, interesting. So, and Juan Soto, where he's going to end up. Do we think he's going to end up here? No.
No.
They were
New York.
New York and LA. So,
San Diego.
San Diego. Who's going to the convention next month? I'm going. There's 4 or 5 of us. Maxwell, David. You are going to do presentation. Love y'all. So we'll see y'all next month. Here in the chapter, we're planning a trip on Saturday to go see Aberdeen play Asheville. We're going to rent a car and go up there Saturday, watch that game. So it's pretty neat. And one final thing, just make sure you have your vaccination. Yeah, I think it's Cal Ripken Field. I think so. Yeah. So, still looking for somebody to take over from Marcia to be recording secretary. Like I said, I usually do a lot of the stuff and just need people to take a few notes. That's all. So, that's it. So,
Bob Stevens.
Bob Stevens. Really, Bob? Mike, would you like to say something about the game? Or you want me to?
I'll do it.
Okay. Mike has set up another Space Cowboy game. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so since a lot of the guys are going up to Baltimore, we were looking to have another Space Cowboy outing at the in Sugarland, and there are 2 weeks that they are home. The latter week in August, and this would be our meeting, the Astros are home. The first week they're there, which is like the 5th through the 7th, the Astros have a Monday, Tuesday home game, and then they're on the road. They go to Boston. So we need to vote if we want to go. We need 20. And then we can pick a date, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They are going to. What are the dates? I'm sorry, the dates that after the month land ago. August 6th, 7th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think they. 5th is a Friday. Yeah, August 6th is a Saturday. Monday and Tuesday that week. Minor leagues play now Monday through Sunday. They play the same things. Yeah, that's it. Tuesday through Sunday. They play 6 games. So Monday and Tuesday, the Astros are home that week. And then I think they go to their home. Yeah. Are they? Okay, so then it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but there'd be no conflict for any Astro ticket holders. Following week, 2 weeks later, Astros are home all week, so there's conflicts. So, is there a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday preference for anyone? Let's say there's Friday night fireworks, and Saturday. Mike, would you be doing this in the suites again, or? Yeah, $75 ticket. We have 20 people and $3 parking. They're playing the Round Rock again. Mike Katz, corresponded with him. He said he would meet with us again. He's got his book grinders out again. Buys the book, he autographed the book. Right. Whatever y'all are in. I'm at the list of 20 people. Minimum of 20 to get to this guy. Yeah, 20 or more. 20. Yeah. I don't bring my wife this time. I had to miss the last one after setting it up. Saturday night's a big night because it's 80s night. It's heavy Metallica, and they have the Spasmodics doing a free concert after the game. Sold me on that. I am a visual effect.
Thank you, well,
One of the dancers.
that sounds good. I think that's great. Wow.
Well, does everyone think Saturday is a good night?
Yes.
All right.
Start on.
How many would prefer Saturday to another night of the week?
Yeah.
Well, that's 4 people, so I don't know how many plan on
Well,
going.
I got 3 right here.
All right, Thursday is a $2 beer night, so we're up in that. That's a $5 sweet. How many would prefer Thursday?
Friday or
Friday,
Saturday.
fireworks?
Friday or Saturday, I think.
You're the one for Friday.
Why there's that?
All right, Saturday night. That's the 6th. Spasmodics. Okay.
So when would you need to check by?
The sooner the better.
Sooner the better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right in the night and Sugarland Baseball LLC. Not to
Okay.
me, not to the Cowboys.
Mike, what time of the day start on Saturday?
Very good, all right.
Time do they start, Mike, you know, Saturday
I
night?
think it's 6.
I think it's 6. I have to look at the schedule. Is that what I have here? August 6th. August 5th, it goes green night. August. I didn't get that printed out. All right, so we have 2 tickets in barking for Dr. McCay. We only need 18 more.
Okay.
So, Joe, I heard Mike say that would replace our meeting that month.
Yeah, we're not gonna have a meeting next month.
But we would have Robert, Mike Katz.
Right.
Yeah, Mike Katz will speak to us.
Dr. anytime we go ahead and do it again. And since we went in April, they have installed the automatic ball and strike throwers. And been working since the middle of this month or earlier this month. 6:05, sir, it's the game time.
And I think you said already that Mike Cap's book Grinders is now available on Amazon.
$20, yeah,
If you buy it, he will sign it.
but he probably has some there too.
Yeah, he left me a message. So,
And I'll try to get the meeting room to set up something where we need about 30 or something like that.
all right, thanks, Mike.
All right,
Very quickly,
and Joe will send out my address again to the check.
yes, sir. If you did not hear, by the way, you lost a chapter member this last month. Gary Schulte, right?
Schulte.
Schulte, I have a card. Well, my wife will mail it out. She's always better at that stuff than I am. If everybody want to go ahead and sign it.
Yeah, his service is a week from Tuesday at Harvest Methodist Church.
Yeah.
Very city.
When we come to the meetings, he's a nice guy. Remember Gary, so he will be missed. This Thursday, the SABR is having its Landmarks Baseball virtual launch party. It's their new interactive guide to baseball-related attractions across North America. The person who sort of heads this up, John Racanelli, I'm going to try to get him to speak to us in September. I think this will be a good thing for the chapter. We have quite a few ballpark locations that we can help John locate, or at least I know Bob has volunteered to help with him. So, and speaking of September the 19th, Chris Rawls, y'all know that name?
Yeah.
All right. Well, chapter member Jason Bristol did a feature about Chris and his portable Houston Baseball Museum. Chris has agreed to be our speaker in September. And he will, he said he's going to make a game of some of the stuff he has. I thought it was unique. Probably when I think Jason asked him, what is your most unique thing you have from the history of baseball? He said he had a hot dog wrapper from the Astrodome. in pristine condition. So I'll be pretty excited to see what kind of stuff Chris will come up with in September. That meeting will be September the 19th. Okay.
Bring a museum.
Probably not the whole thing. He was in Richmond this last weekend, so.
Oh.
He's a member of the chapter. He said he hadn't been able to come to meetings for the last little while. Hopefully I can get him ordered, get back in. But he left the Astros in October 2021. He worked in the front office as their tour coordinator. So it'll be pretty interesting to hear from him. So finally, before we get to our guest, chapter newsletter. We are looking for articles. Please send an article to Scott as fast as you can. If you want to do anything, 1922 related, since it's the 100-year anniversary or anything like that, I'm going to write something about the All-Star game. Get it to him as soon as possible. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I just want to remind you, in 1922, the Yankees were leading the American League. So more things change, more things remain the same.
Okay. Well, there you go.
That's it.
Approved it 59.
1922.
Yo, how many words?
How many words? 600, Scott?
Well, anywhere between 2 or 200 and 1,000. Anywhere between that. Shorter the better. It's easy to work with, layout wise. Whatever's in your mind, let it flow and send it.
Yeah, we're looking to publish this first week of August. All right. So get your articles to them like now. So, all right. David.
Yes,
Hello,
sir.
sir. How are you, David?
Good. How are you?
Just fine. David is the author of 1962. See the book right there. Baseball in America in the Time of JFK. And he's also the author of Our Bums, Brooklyn Dodgers in History, Memory, and Popular Culture. He is also the editor of the anthologies, The New York Mets in Popular Culture and The New York Yankees in Popular Culture. And he is also the chair of the Elysian Field Club. David is also giving a presentation at the convention next month. I'm looking forward to this. This is the 60-year anniversary of the Colt 45/Astros, and he has a little bit about Houston in the book. So I thought I'd invite him to talk about his book from a Houston perspective also. So David, without further ado, it is all you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I want to talk about three things. I like to talk about the way the book came to be, the section on Houston specifically, and what I learned as a researcher. This book was born in a workshop. In New York, we have a continuing education school called Media Bistro. And it started as a way for people to network and get information about the media industry. And then it evolved into a place where you could have classes. And these were for people who wanted to further their writing endeavors. Maybe they never wrote a book before, maybe they never wrote an article before, but it was a way for them to hone their craft. And I had taken the course in nonfiction book proposal. I did not know that you don't need to write a book to get it sold to a publisher. You don't need to write a book to get it to an agent. I had no idea. But I took this class, and that's where the Dodgers book was born. So when I thought about retaking it, because I had such a great experience before, I said, 1962 is really interesting to me. I'm a Mets fan, so I know a little bit about Mets culture. I know a little bit about 1962. I've been reading about it and hearing about it ever since I was a little kid. I haven't read anything about the Colt 45s. I haven't seen any books. I haven't seen any scholarship. So my thought was to combine the two teams and write about that season. And that would take up 90% of the book. Roughly 45% about the Mets, 45% about the Colt 45s, and then 10% everything else in the background. And I was really proud of myself. I thought, no one's done this. I could get a lot of Houston fans like yourselves, and maybe I'll uncover some new scholarship about the Mets. So I go into the class, and the instructor, who is a literary agent, said, I know you're a baseball guy from the last class, and congratulations on the Dodgers book. But books with broader topics get broader readerships. So think about it. And that night I came home, I took the PATH train home. The PATH train goes under the Hudson River from Manhattan to Jersey City, where I live. And I started Googling. And on the train ride home, I had written some things down that I knew for sure happened in '62. I knew the Flintstones was on in the early 60s. I knew the Dick Van Dyke Show was on in the early 60s. I knew To Kill a Mockingbird came out that year. I knew John Glenn went up in his capsule that year. I did not know that there were 2 other Mercury astronauts. I did not know that 1962, for my money, was the greatest year in movies. Some film scholars say 1939. I'll put 1962 against 1939 any day of the week and twice on Sunday. The Music Man, Lawrence of Arabia, That Touch of Mink, Advise and Consent, the list goes on and on. And I Googled when I got home, and I found maybe 40 or 50 different stories and subtopics. And I thought, this is really rich. This is really rich. This cannot just be a baseball book. This has to encompass the entire year. So I went back to the class the next week, and I said, I took what the instructor said to heart, and this is what I came up with. I'd like to do a book that's half baseball, half popular culture, history, the arts, literature, movies, NASA, JFK, and I'll intersperse it with the baseball. Now, how do you do that? Well, chronologically, it seemed to be impossible. So I figured every baseball topic would get a chapter. So there are 5 major teams that year. The Giants and Yankees are in the World Series. The Giants and Dodgers have a 3-game playoff. So right there, that's 3 chapters: Dodgers, Giants, Yankees. And then you have the Mets and the Colt 45s, each with their own chapter. So that's 5. And the World Series takes up half of October. The other half is the Cuban Missile Crisis. And I have some baseball in the beginning part of the book. So right there, it's roughly 6 chapters. And it's a pretty even split, 50% baseball and 50% everything else. And the instructor said, you will sell this one. When we got to the end of the class, after I did the summary and the outline and the table of contents and the sample chapter, and I felt really good about it. Now, how do you do the research? Well, fortunately for me, the SABR conference was in Houston some time ago. And I had found out that the University of Houston houses George Kirksey's archives. Who is George Kirksey? George Kirksey is an unsung hero in Houston baseball. Kirksey was a public relations guy, and he helped that team get off the ground as a concern, as an ongoing, legitimate, viable concern. The question was, do you have enough money? Well, Houston is laden with oil money. Then the question becomes, do you have enough of a fan base? The Buffaloes had a terrific, loyal fan base. Do you have enough to get to the major league level? Then the question becomes, do you have media projections? What will the television station be? What's the reach of the radio station? Do you have enough watts to blast the broadcasts beyond that which they are now? And Kirksey has all of this in the folders. So when I got to SABR, I quietly took a cab in the morning. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I just left. I didn't go to any presentations or anything. And I went to the University of Houston library where his archives are kept. There's a great archivist named Vince Lee who helped me tremendously. And I went through this unbelievably valuable resource. He had team newsletters. He had media projections, demographic projections, things that every city has to do, every concern that wants a baseball team. So in this case, it was the Houston Sports Association. And there were lists of the original owners, the minority owners. Now, one of my pet peeves is that the two original owners of the Mets and the Colt 45s are not in the Hall of Fame, Joan Payson and Roy Hofheinz. Roy Hofheinz, as you all know, was really the passion behind this project. He was the face of the operation. And I learned quite a bit about him just by reading the memos and copying the newsletters and taking notes as quickly as I could, and then asking Vince if I could get microfilm of the Houston newspapers because they're not online, they're not in any database. So we were able to get them through interlibrary loan at the New York Public Library. It was incredibly important to document Houston and New York because of the reason I said before. Houston had not really been documented in a detailed way. So you'll see in the book, when I talk about the Houston team, I also summarize each player. And the way that we were able to do that was by going to the Hall of Fame and getting the player files. So I photocopied the files, or what I thought was pertinent, for each player of the 5 major teams that are chronicled. And Bob Aspromonte gave me an interview. He was just tremendously open and honest. He loved Houston. He loved playing there, loved the people. I got a sense that Houston was really a small town in a big city, that it's a very community-oriented type of person who calls himself a Houstonian. So that was through my mind when I was doing the research and doing the writing. So Roman Mejias and all these other great players are documented because, in my mind, same thing with the Mets. The Mets were horrible, as you know, 40 and 120, but they deserve praise because it has to start somewhere. They have to start somewhere. The teams have to build on something. And for people in Houston with whom I spoke and people in New York with whom I spoke, it was two sides of the same coin. Houstonians didn't see major league players. Not really, maybe if they were barnstorming or something like that. But now Colt 45s fans would get a chance to see Sandy Koufax and Willie Mays when they came to town. And in New York, the people who no longer had a team to root for because the Giants and the Dodgers had left after 57, they got to see the players they once rooted for, like Willie Mays and Drysdale and Koufax and so forth. They also got a chance to see the other folks like Stan Musial and Bill Mazeroski and people from other teams that they couldn't see since 57 because for 4 years it was just the American League. 58, 59, 60, 61, the Yankees owned New York. Now the National League fans had a team. Finally, what I'd like to talk about is what I learned as a researcher. 62 was so rich and so overflowing, really, with information, because every time I thought I had something done, there was another book, there was another movie, there was another player, there was another article. And it got to the point where I never thought that I was going to get this done because I just kept growing and growing and growing. And you can write a book about any topic that's in there. You can write a book about the literature of 62, the movies of 62, baseball of 62. This was all combined into one. And what I did was I kept adding, and I kept asking Nebraska, University of Nebraska Press, I kept asking for deadlines to be extended. Need more deadlines to be extended. I need another month. I need another 2 months. I need another 3 months. And they granted it. But it got to the point where I realized I can't do anymore. This is it. And it was about 365 pages. So I handed it in, and my editor got back to me. He said, great job, you have to cut it by 20%. So all the work I did was wasted, or so I thought, because initially I figured, well, I did all that extra work. I could have stopped 9 months ago and handed this in. So that was foolish of me. Not really, because some of the extra stuff I found was better than stuff I had originally. There were stories and articles and interviews and archival footage that I was able to find that I didn't have before I pushed myself. So it took about a day for me to realize, wait a minute, though that extra time really informed me and really gave me the freedom to pursue other avenues that I might not normally have gone down. One example being the Seattle World's Fair. That TV coverage is on YouTube. And people say the Kennedy assassination was really when TV news came into its own, when it really grew as a medium, those 4 days in 1963. Well, Seattle had people around the fair, and they also had to report on a plane crash, a small plane crash in a neighborhood, a suburban neighborhood, I believe. And they had to report on that on the fly. So I think that was a real precursor to what TV news was going to become. And then other things, like I said, another movie to watch. And then I realized I can't watch every movie from '62. So I picked a handful. And for everyone who says I should have included Lawrence of Arabia, I'll say, well, I think advice and consent is pertinent as well. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's no right, no wrong. It's just personal preference for the author. So with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions that you all may have, and I'll answer to the best of my ability. And I thank you so much for your time.
And David, I think you had momentous activity during our convention of 2014. You want to tell the folks about it?
Oh, the first pitch?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, that was me. I'll tell you what happened. What happened was I was sitting. You'll recall that there were tables where the products, for lack of a better word, were lined up, and it was a silent auction. Well, where I come from, a silent auction is truly silent. You write your name, you write your dollar amount on an index card, and you put it into the box, and nobody sees. This way, everyone is able to see, and if they really want it, they could wait till the last second and outbid you by $1. So I looked over, I was at the bar area just reading the national pastime. And I looked over to where everyone was milling about, and I said, why are they spending money on things that are just going to be dust catchers? I mean, you all know, you buy a book, you buy a tchotchke, you buy a piece of memorabilia, and then 5 years later, you have to start cleaning things out. And I said, this is really silly. Why are they doing this? And why is somebody going to throw out the ball, the first pitch? Why is somebody going to do that? And then after a couple of hours, I realized how many times in your life do you get to do something like that? So that was really a present to myself to place the winning bid and get out there on the mound. And it's scary and it's fun and it's exhilarating, and I highly recommend it. It's an experience that I'll take with me.
Oh, Dave, I remember so well that you practiced throwing baseball inside the hotel.
I practiced with Jim Cruz.
Yeah, Jim Cruz, and I think Mike McCroskey also involved.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I hadn't thrown that far in years. So if I had to do it over, I might do it from the lip of the mound. I might not go to the actual mound.
I remember distinctly taking you down the field.
That's right.
on the first pitch, and he said, wow, that's a long way from the mound to home plate. So I suggested that maybe you throw the truck in front of the mound.
You were right. You were absolutely right.
And so you said, no, I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna throw it from
If I-
the mound.
If I do it again, I'll probably take that advice.
I have to say something about that. Just Red Ornament with Minute Maid donated the right for Saber, that silent auction, brought the first pitch, and he also gave us 4 seats up front. You got the bid. I caught you out in the hotel. You practiced throwing, but marked off 60 feet, the lobby threw to me, and then I went down when you were gonna throw it out. And I got on the field to calm you down, and I realized I was the only guy out there without a press pass. Just wandering around to make sure you did it well.
Well, the one thing that I was the most concerned about was I didn't know about the timing or how it worked or where I would be beforehand, the handlers and everything else. I made it a point to say to somebody, I need to go to the store and get an Astros hat and an Astros t-shirt. I don't have anything, and they weren't selling them at the hotel. So I think I got a Nolan Ryan t-shirt and an Astros hat.
I got a question, David.
Yes.
So I native Houstonian, and I'm old enough to remember when the Colt 45s arrived in '62. So I'm sure there's a few other gentlemen here, and maybe one lady here that remembers that as well. So of the Colt 45 information that you found out. Pardon? He's too young. I'm sorry, the Colt 45 information. Is there something that stands out to you that's really kind of wow moment when you were studying the Colt 45? Anything really interesting that you might want to share with the group?
Oh, the song. That's why I titled the chapter shoot him down, shooting him down, shoot him down, Houston Colts, shoot him down. That it was so resonant, and to get an orchestra to do that, and it was a great juxtaposition to Meet the Mets, which is very much fanfare, lots of horns and everything else. There's something about music and baseball, and that was so reflective of its time, but because of the culture and the way it is, you couldn't have a song like that. You couldn't have an emblem like that. But I was really happy to find that song on YouTube. And I think more than anything else, I couldn't really find too much about it, at least not as much as I found on the Mets song. But that's why I titled the chapter after the song.
Thank you.
What was the song? Shoot him down.
Shoot him
Shoot him
down.
down, Houston Colts, shoot him down.
Hey, David, in
Yes.
talking with some former players that played at the outdoor stadium that the
Yeah.
Colts had to play in.
Yeah.
One of the big factors besides the heat was the mosquitoes.
Right.
Find that in your research. I mean, I think it was Gaylord Perry I was talking to, and he just couldn't believe how bad the mosquitoes.
Yeah, nobody had anything nice to say about Colt Stadium. The mugginess, the mosquitoes. It looked like a nice facility in the pictures, but I soon came to understand and appreciate why the Astrodome was such a revered facility because of that. And I had a boss once who told me that Houston was the air conditioning capital of the world because it was so muggy there. And I got a true appreciation for that when I visited. And I'm very glad to have documented this. Maybe there's a book to be written just about the genesis of the Colt 45s. There have been books about other things as well, but there's a lot there that I wasn't able to cover from the construction of Colt Stadium. Lots of inside information, background information that I found about the genesis of the team and the Houston Sports Association. there's a lot there that unfortunately couldn't make it into the book.
Oh, David,
Yes,
I recall in 1962 that the Houston club, I mean, they finished at least ahead of the Cubs.
right.
And the Mets.
And the Mets,
And the
but
Mets.
toward the end of the season, I recall that the Astros played the Giants and the Dodgers
45.
in season-ending series and took some important games for both clubs. That actually forced a playoff in 1962.
Right, they're right. There's a lot, like I said, that just for time and space reasons couldn't get to. The Colt 45s won, I believe, 64 games that year, and Harry Kraft was the manager. I think there's a lot there, as I said, for other researchers down the road to mine, because they were a bit of a spoiler.
Yeah.
So David, when you did your research on the Mets, how did they arrive at Casey Stengel as the manager?
Well,
Was he the first and only choice, or were there more?
Casey was a marquee factor. It was really that. He was 70 years old. He wasn't managing Bauer and Mantle and Berra anymore. I mean, these were the Mets. These were cast-offs. Some of these players only had 1 year in the majors, 62. For some, it was their last year in the majors. So he was there almost he was a New York figure. And people of a certain age in New York will remember that he was a Brooklyn player. He played in the 1910s in Brooklyn. So some guy who's in his 70s taking his grandkid to the Polo Grounds, could say, I saw Stengel play the same way people of my parents' generation remembered Billy Martin playing for the Yankees when we were watching him on television and managing the World Series champs in 77 and 78. And he's also reflected in the marketing. I mean, Rheingold beer, he's all over those advertisements. So he's a known quantity, he's a known factor, he's lovable. I think Casey and Yogi are probably the two most beloved figures ever in baseball. I'd be hard pressed to find somebody to be in that upper echelon.
Who did the radio broadcasting for the Mets?
It was Ralph Kiner, Bob Murphy, and Lindsey Nelson
Oh,
for years. For years. I mean, certainly when I was growing up in the late 70s, they were still the team. At least on WOR television, they were.
Hey, David, I had a question for you.
Yes.
Doing research, I see you used a lot of oral interviews that you did. And one of the quotes that I found was just like gold is when you interviewed Thomas Schlamm. Is that his name?
Tommy Schlamme, yeah.
Yeah, he was Houstonian, and he went on to produce shows like Sport Night, The West Wing, and things like that. And there's one quote here that you have in here, and he says, but he grew up in Houston. When the Astrodome opened in 1965, everyone wanted to go to Astros games. It gave Houston a stronger identity and national attention. We felt like we were the city of the future. The Mets seemed like the stepchildren of the Yankees. Right. They sort of consumed a loser identity with a 40 and 120 record in their first season. So did you actually interview Tommy in New York?
I reached out to Tommy's company, and he was going to be in New York. And I met him downtown at a very small bistro and came with my laptop. And he generously gave me an hour of his time. He was the fastest in getting the release back to me. These publishers make you get a release for the interviews, and some interviewees drag their heels. I got it back from him, I think either that day or the next day. It was emailed back to me by his assistant. He was great. He was a true fan. He talked about growing up in Houston and how big a deal it was when the Colt 45s were coming, and I was just so happy that I was getting someone who was there. I'm just tired of, interviewing historians or people who weren't there. I want someone who was 10 years old when they played. That George Will, the great political columnist and analyst, he's also a great baseball historian. He says the best players are the ones who played when you were 12 years old. So when you're writing about 62, I want people who were born in the late 40s and early 50s to share those memories.
Yeah, good.
I can tell you is that now that you mention that, when I was a young boy, my hero was Richie Ashburn.
Yeah.
And he hit 306 for the Mets in
Right.
1960, and then he
Right.
retired.
Right.
Can't beat that.
Did the Mets play at Shea Stadium in '62 or they?
Shea
play
was
some
Shea was
grounds?
built and debuted in 64. So it was built a couple of years, and then it was 64 when it debuted, and the Polo Grounds went into the dustbin of history.
So Stengel was in John McGraw's old office, is that right? All around.
What's that?
Stengel, Casey Stengel, the Mets manager,
Oh, I
was
didn't
actually
know.
in John McGraw's old office.
Oh, I didn't know that.
What kind of shape was the Polo Grounds in then?
Playable, but I don't know. It certainly wasn't what it was, in the 20s. And the stadiums just weren't made as well back then.
Yeah.
Ebbets was certainly deteriorating by the mid 50s.
How did the Mets draw in their first season in New York?
I don't think they drew too well. I'd have to go back and do the research specifically, but there was a lot of fun about it. And I've said this before, if you come to New York and you go to a Yankees game and you take the 6 train, when you get off that 6 train, the subway train, it's silent. Yankee fans walk with their shoulders back and their chests out, and they expect to win. And it's been that way ever since Babe Ruth came to New York. It was that way in the 20s. It was that way in the 50s. It was that way in the 70s. It's that way now. When you get off the 7 train in Queens, right outside Citi Field, you don't have a foot off the subway train before people are chanting, "Let's go Mets." It's just a more fun, boisterous atmosphere. And it's very much like what I understand the Dodgers were like to root for in Ebbets Field. It was Don Drysdale described it in his autobiography that it was a carnival. It was a carnival atmosphere.
Anyone else? Question?
So the book is available now?
Book is right
It's
here.
available, yeah, it's available on Amazon. Right now, I think there's a 50% discount, but I have no word on how long the discounts last. If you want to wait and buy it in Baltimore, I know it'll be available at the Nebraska table, so I'll gladly sign it.
Well, those of us who will be there next month, we are looking forward to meeting you in person, Dave. Great
Likewise,
book. I really like it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And let me just ask or make a request. If you read the book, please consider writing a review on Amazon. Those
Okay.
reviews are incredibly helpful for authors and publishers.
Yeah. I will certainly do that.
David.
Yes,
Mike,
Mike
Yes.
Krell. Certainly good to see you again.
likewise.
That was a lot of fun prepping you up for that first bit.
Yeah, you were definitely a calming paternal influence. It's one thing to get the winning bid. It's one thing to go out there and do it. But the 2 hours that you're waiting, it was interminable. It was just, I mean, it was just horrible, the waiting.
So David, what's next for you?
Well, right now I'm working on a book about 1966, and that will be published in April by Rowman and Littlefield. And it's now in the hands of the editors, so it's going through copy editing and layout. I'm also working on 2 books. One is a cultural history of the Red Sox, and the other is a biography of Bo Belinsky, who's covered in the 1962 book. But I became fascinated with his life story, and I decided to pursue it as a biography.
Okay. Where do you live then?
I'm in Jersey City.
All right. Gonna do that book on the 62 Astros?
It's possible.
45?
It's possible. I think there's a lot of material. If it's not me, it'll probably be someone else in the next few years. There's a great story. There's a great Houston story in getting that team, and couple that with, you know, something that's underscored in the book. You mentioned the Tommy Schlamme quote about the city of the future. Well, NASA having Houston in the byline of every space story in the world certainly raised Houston's visibility. So that, combined with Major League Baseball, really pushed Houston to the next level of commerce, sprawl, people moving there, creating an industry, et cetera.
All right, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you. Be well. Take care.
Okay, next up, coming to the plate, President Emeritus Bob has some interesting stories about his time when he was a Little League coach. Some very interesting stories. If you now, Bob told these stories at SABR Day in America, unless you have some new ones that you're telling tonight. So some stuff really surprised a lot of people in that room, and I was really surprised. So if you missed SABR Day in America back in February, shame on you. Don't ever miss another one. So here's Bob. Take it away, sir.
One last comment. I don't know if David's still listening, but I remember so well when I took him out, throw out the first pitch. And Mike will tell you, he was extremely nervous.
Oh, man.
So he went out there and he threw the first pitch. He came off the field. He says, "You know what? That's the most fun I've ever had in my life. I want to do it again next year." If we can do it. Joe asked me to talk for a couple minutes about my experience as a Little League coach. Now, that's the Little League rules, which is just like the Major League rules. Details are unbelievable. We followed those rules to the T. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I received a phone call from a good friend of mine that says, "Hey, there's a Little League team available in our area. Would you like to manage it?" I thought for about 30 seconds, said, "Sure, why not?" And so it was an existing team where the previous manager had been transferred. We had our own little ballpark, which was gorgeous. There were 2 ball fields, softball field and a regulation field. And took care of those fields, so we never had to worry about getting in line or dragged or anything. It was a perfect situation, a very nice area with a babbling brook coming between the 2 ballparks. In Little League back in those days, you were assigned a territory of about 25,000 people. That was your territory. So it's by streets, by highways, or whatever. And that's where you got your ball players. Our league was even more particular
in that we divided our area up into 8 different areas because we had 8 different teams. And part of this was because we didn't want players have to travel too far, their parents have to travel too far to get the ball.
What year were you?
1967. And so the first year we gerrymandered. No, but they did check birth certificate and addresses very closely. We had to turn in those, always turn in our roster. Nobody back at that point did what they did in New York a couple of years ago. They had a 17-year-old girl where it was. Little League says that your roster can only have 7 12-year-olds and 6 11-year-olds. You can have a roster of 15, but you can have no more than 12 or no more than 7 who are 12 years old. And so basically, you kept your team for 2 years. You kept the 11 and the 12. And it coached them for 2 years. I figured that probably I coached 45 different players during my 6 years as a manager. Never did I dream that we'd have 5 of our players who would get baseball scholarships to colleges. We'd have an All-American baseball player. We'd have a baseball player who went to the World Series on a winning team. And we had another player who was a 2-time All-Pro football player. It was, Greg asked me, how did we do? Did we win any games? Yeah, we won some games because we had the talent. I didn't know that when I took over this responsibility. All these people just came from about 3,000 homes, and they love to play baseball. And so let me tell you a little bit about the players that I coached. The first one you should all know. That's the first team I ever coached. And right in the middle, right here, was an 11-year-old. There's a young man who played left field for us. His name was Dwight Clark. Oh, the catch painter. The catch painter. If you haven't seen it, I've got a pretty good scrapbook on Mr. Clark. And this picture has appeared in Sports Illustrated, Major League, National Football League publications forever and a day. It kind of made Dwight into what he was. A really cool guy, excellent guy. I remember his dad, he pitched for us as a 12-year-old who pitched. And his dad could not watch him pitch. Could not literally watch. He stood behind the dugout. That's our dugout back. He stood behind the dugout. He watched home plate. He could see what the batter was doing. And he could see what the umpire was doing. But he could not see his son's pitch. And as soon as the player hit the ball, he'd come around the course. What happened? It was hysterical, you know. So anyway, we were fortunate enough to win a championship, and he invited us over to his house for a champagne dinner. Dwight's father. It was very nice. His dad was a major banking executive. As I said, let's go to the next one. Smoke. Yeah, that's amazing. Dwight was everything in high school. He was a quarterback. He was a forward on the basketball team. He was also an outstanding athlete on the track team. But one thing I'll never forget and love him for is he's the only player that I coached in the 6 years who came back and agreed to umpire our games. So that's a picture of Dwight Clark. Not a good picture, but that's Dwight Clark. And he had such a reputation because he was always in the newspaper. They were writing him up, and his dad, his family. The kids idolized him. They loved him. You know, look who's opening our ball game, Dwight Clark. And he was a good umpire too. And he had a great personality, a terrific personality. And very nice to that. He went on to Clemson University. One of the many pictures I have of him in high school. He's an HR article about the great Dwight Clark. Great personality. Dwight went on to Clemson University, got a football scholarship to Krell, and had a so-so college career. He was hurt some of the time, and his senior year he only caught 12 passes. But he had a roommate named Steve Fuller. Now, Steve Fuller, was drafted in the first round from Clemson by the, Kansas City Chiefs. Right. And, he played for Kansas City, then played for the Chicago Bears, and they led the Chicago Bears to a world championship. And then went back to Kansas City. But while he was in Clemson, Bill Walsh, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, in those days would come out and interview players personally. So Bill Walsh came on the Clemson campus. And he said, "I'd like to see you throw the ball. You have somebody that can catch some of your passes." And Steve said, "Yeah, my roommate's not too bad. I'll get him to come down." So Dwight Clark went out. And they went through their paces and they threw passes. Nothing else was said. Okay. He was drafted. And in the 10th round of that draft, Dwight was selected by the San Francisco 49ers. He was thrilled to death to receive a contract for $400,000 over 4 years. That was big money back in those days. And then he read the fine print. And there's a little hickey to fine print. The contract was for $100,000 a year for 4 years, which is still good money. But you had to make a team. You didn't make a team? Dwight made a team. There's a picture. We'll get to this in a minute. This is the picture he sent to me. I got pictures. He started for the 49ers. Of course, their quarterback was Joe Montana. And he didn't do very well first 5 games. They threw him a pass, or he didn't play many plays. But he came to New Orleans to play against the Saints. And it just so happened that my company had season tickets for the Saints. And I was able to get a ticket to go to the ball game. So, make a long story short, a friend of mine who knew that I knew Dwight said, "Why don't you get together with Dwight after the game?" I said, "How would I do that?" He said, "I'll call him up and see if he'll meet with you." "You'll call him up?" "Yeah, I know where the chief stays. They stay at the Holiday Inn out at the airport." But I'll call him. So I called him, call the hotel, and front office guy said, "Hey, we're under strict instructions. Under no way can we connect anybody to any of the players. Can't be done." So my friend said, "Well, let me say this." He said, "A very good friend of Mr. Clark is here in New Orleans and would love to see him. I think he would love to see this guy. Would you do us the favor to drop a note to Dwight Clark and tell him that Bob Dorrell would like to see him after the ball? And here's the telephone number I'm calling from." 5 minutes later, I get a phone call from Dwight. And he's thrilled to death to have somebody that's a friend. I mean, he's struggling a little bit. Well, it just so happened that game he caught 5 passes. He was on his way. And we did meet after the game. He said, "Well, let's meet by the buses." There were 4 buses out behind the Superdome. So I went out there, waited for a while. And I said, "Oh, shucks, he's already gotten on the bus. I was too late because I had stalled him." So I got on the first bus, and some guy in the front seat said, "Sir, can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for Dwight Clark." I'm looking all around. He said, "No, he's not on the bus." So I said, "Thank you." And I looked who I was talking to. Joe Montana, O.J. Simpson. For second person, should have thrown off the bus. But, so we met, had a nice chat. And we did that for a number of years. While we were still in New Orleans, we would meet after a game. He was just the most outgoing, most pleasant guy you could imagine. We stayed in contact over the years. This is a picture he sent to me. Thanks. I can read that to you. It's kind of self-serving, but I'm gonna read it anyway. Coach Dorrell, thanks for making me the kind of athlete as well as the kind of person I'm proud to be. I'll never forget the days under your leadership. Right, Clark. Pretty nice. Oh, nice. Very nice.
Did he stay with baseball at all after his game?
No, he didn't. He left. Strictly football. He was good enough, like high school baseball, but I don't know. He knew what it was. He had a record. He set a record for high school long jump. And so we knew he knew how to jump. He turned out. This is the famous picture, gets Dallas, when 49ers qualified to go to the Super Bowl.
This is the Dallas.
Emerson Wall. He still remembered it. Emerson still remembered it.
Dallas, that's Rosie, sorry.
I never liked them until.
Changing.
Funny thing happened because of this catch, this notoriety. He was picked to be a judge in the Miss Universe contest. They didn't know why he picked, but he said he's glad to do it. So anyway, he did judge. And the winner was a girl named Sean Weatherly. She was Miss Universe. And believe it or not, they became a couple. And they couldn't go anywhere without getting their pictures taken. They got cones, stuff like Sean Weatherly. And they were together about 2 years. And kind of broke up. Here's some more pictures of White. I've got, a dozen of them like this. Yeah. Here's a letter he wrote to me after he retired. I still can be missing around now. I'm over 30. And it's just, very nice letter. He went into the restaurant business and insurance business. And when he retired. And he's also in the memorabilia business. That's a good things. Nice letter. Clark. That's one of his baseball cards. Football. Good looking guy.
Should be a double. They're missing.
And Dwight got onto the pro circuit of signing memorabilia. And we moved to Houston.
Just how much?
He stopped playing. And so I decided, I had a very first card. We won that championship the very first year we played Little League Baseball. I had all the kids sign baseball. His first card. I still have it. So anyway, I wanted to get a helmet signed by Dwight. And I happen to have that helmet right here. And he signed it. And he also wrote on here, the catch. Because that was he's famous for him. Oh, yeah. I'll pass that around if anybody wants to take a look at it. But what was kind of cute about it was, if you ever been to these autograph shows, the players sit at a table. He's got a handler right next door to him who accepts the tickets and lines up the ball or whatever to be signed just right. And they hand it to the player. And the player signs it. A lot of the players just sign, wait for the next one. Not too much of a personal contact. Well, Dwight wasn't that way. He always looked at the person he was signing for. And I want to show his hand, he shake their hand, that kind of. So going through, I get right in front of Dwight. Because one of these, you're here. Come autograph. Yes, I am. He said, that's awesome. And I said, he jumped up on the table and he came around to the front. People lining up other autographs. He says, hey, everybody, here's my Little League coach. I want you to see him. And I happened to have a kid in his Little League uniform. And I gave him his Little League uniform. He was thrilled to death. I don't know how I fit into it. He was a pretty small guy at the beginning, like 8 years. Sadly, Dwight's no longer with us. As you probably know, he got ALS. He went 15 months. Ed DiBartolo became very close with the owner of Poise. And he thought Dwight he treated him like a son. And as soon as Ed found out Dwight was suffering, he had his number retired in the end zone. And at the 49ers football stadium. And, as he deteriorated right there. He asked, like, what can we do for you? What would you like to do? He said, I'd like to have one last reunion with my teammates. And he did. But he lives in Montana, has his own ranch in Montana. And he brought all his teammates. See his wife, he's in a wheelchair, can't talk. But he can smile. When Dwight passed, Mr. DeMarco asked for permission to bury Dwight on his grounds. He had a football field that he had built his estate. He wanted to bury Dwight into the family estate. Yes. No.
Bob, how old was he when he died?
61. He was 61 years old, not 2018. I just covered not that many years ago.
Bob, do you think it was football related?
You know, probably not. I think it was a disease. It wasn't like a dementia or something. I mean, it's speculated. But anyway. So that's my story about Mr. Clark. Super human being, super person. You know, he sent me letters, sent me Christmas cards, all that kind of stuff. He kind of followed up. Now we have another player that Mr. Smith is aware of. And this is a fellow by the name of Mark Davis. Now, he may not be a household name to you. Mark, this little guy right here. And he played shortstop for us. His dad had played minor league baseball for 8 years, Giants organization. And Mark came out. And of all the kids that I had for 6 years, he's by far best athlete. Just a super man. Why? I'm assuming, well, he could play the game. And you can see we had some guys of pretty good size, and then we had these little guys. There's another one of our better teams. Great. Well, let's let you know. So he was drafted. One interesting thing is his dad liked to umpire our inter-squad games when we were practicing. And he always would stand behind home plate. He would stand behind the pitch. He'd be behind home plate. Anytime a strike came, he said, "Striker, striker." Mister, you remember people who talk Canadian like that. He's a nice guy. Dwight went to the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Not Barton, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mike. And then he transferred to Thompson. And he was signed in the 11th round by the Twins in 1982. And he was converted, like turned professor, he's converted to a outfielder. He was playing shortstop through high school. And I don't know if he had to scout or not. I can tell you that. Probably he didn't throw. He played in Orlando because he came up with Player of the Year in Orlando. And then he went up to the Twins. And unfortunately, well, he played 413 games in his 6-year career. But he kind of a 26 man on a 25-man roster. And so he's up and down quite a bit. But he did get into the World Series. He had 2 at-bats in the World Series. He was a defensive replacement many times for the Twins. And you can, there is the World Championship, 1987, Minnesota Twins.
Curly bucket on the right hand side. Second from me and
Marked up here in the corner. He took his World Series wins, and I don't know what they were. I guess they're $70,000, $80,000 back. And he bought a farm, Statesville, North Carolina. They retired to when playing days over. I happen to have his batting jersey. I'm sorry. I do. This is not his. This is the note I have. But I do have his batting jersey. Okay, I have a lot of jerseys. Then he was traded to the Astros. And he played 6 years for the Astros. And just to show you a couple pictures, in 19 I'm going to say 81. Sports Illustrated published every player's salary. Big leagues. Just like this, and there's Mark right here. Shooting our baby, 62.5, yeah, with every player. Like a page after page, which I thought was interesting.
Was that, Bob, wasn't that probably your, maybe tell you remember that minimum back then, 62.5?
In what year, 1981?
Question. The minimum salary.
I don't recall.
I can show you what's out.
81 was in around.
Yeah. Yeah. You can see how good a player is, because here he is on the front page, on one of the page of the Astros yearbook. You know, Bagwell, Biggio, Caminetti, Tim DeShays, Mark Davis. That's pretty good. That's how you realize how better. Go ahead. Here are the salaries, like 1991. 1990, here's opening day salaries, and you take a look and see what some of our players were making. Mark got up $300,000, thank you, Cal.
It's more than Biggio.
More than Biggio?
Yeah.
More than Bagwell, because Biggio is a starter. When it first started out, not to, but I thought that was interesting. Really darn, 934, very cool, 800. Interesting, number. You said 81 or 90? 91 is it. Yeah, after the World Series and
Well, I think they compared it. See, that's on the left, it's 91.
Yeah.
Oh, 91.
90.
Yeah.
Yes, 91 of us, 100,000. I see some 100,000 evens. And Bagwell, that would have been just jumped from 240 to 437. So that's a pretty good increase. Okay, Chris. Chris is the one that put these slides together, so very appreciative. What is it? There's Mr. Davidson as an Astro. He had a very nice article in the. I just took that picture from a program. And you can see that uniform. And this is his uniform. It's one thing I gotta say, I know him, Mark Lee, I know him. This is very small, I know him. Small size, right? 22. Bigger. It's got a patch on here for the 25th year, then cover the dome. He's in shape. I just he can throw. He was an outstanding arm. I know every time I met with him 4 or 5 times. Went to spring training, met him, of course, in the Astrodome. And one of our trips to the Astrodome, he was kind enough to give me a bat. His bat, gave me his bat. He says, "To Bob, where it all started." Thanks, Mark Davis. Nice guy.
Is that Louisville Slugger?
No, it's a Worth bat. He used both. He used a Louisville Slugger and Worth. Yep. So I think that's it. Well, there's a couple of his cards. The autograph for me. I guess that's the last thing. This letter. Oh, no, got this letter from 1988 where he sent me a nice letter. He's still playing at this point. He's in person. About that. That's old school. They don't even teach that at school.
Yeah, Dwight Clark had good handwriting too. Must be back in the day.
There we go. Yeah. Computers. Okay, that's my story.
Any questions for Bob?
Yeah, questions.
So Little League is really just 2 years for players.
3 years, if we're really good at 10. But usually you're 11 or 12. You know, it cuts off, you go, in our area, you go to Babe Ruth, which is full field. That's the big field, yeah.
Actually, no, I played from my 6 to 12, and the majors were 11 to 12, and they had minors that were like 9 and 10-year-olds, and the Pee-wees were 7 and 8. But I was gonna ask you, that was like a 1939 Little League thing you had up there first. I thought Little League started right after World War II. You know, I know Joey J was
1977, it's this year, but I was involved with it much earlier. 1960.
1939, World War II.
That's on the road.
okay, but I didn't realize Little League started that early in 39. I thought it started at World War II.
No, I think it was around. It went all over the country. It started in Pennsylvania.
We were at a baseball card about Joey J with the 1960 card. He was the first Little Leaguer to make majors play. So it was big 8 years off that. He got like.
And our league was official, was part of, in fact, we could take an all-star team, start playing toward the Little League World Series.
No, I know Little League been going on since then. I was just wondering what that.
A lot of people call that league Little League.
Well, did you ever coach one of the all-star games?
Yes. The winning coach or manager got to take the all-star team. I couldn't always do it because of my job responsibilities, because, regular season was 3 days a week. All-stars was 6 days a week. That was a little, but I did, yes. Didn't do too
Friend
well.
of mine in the networking group from it's about 98, 99. He took the team all the way to the final. Little League. And his youngest son is now Will Best, named Matt Best, and Will been bouncing up and down, but he's with Detroit now. Went to Seattle and came back. He's like in his second year with Detroit. Yeah. Looks like he's gonna stick this test. Went to Seattle, got married, his wife got out there, he back to Detroit. But his wife's a school nurse. Oh, yeah.
Well, just a quick aside, that little area we had, I said there were 8 areas, one for each team. And we had 3 other players beside my players who made it to the major leagues from our little area in Charlotte. One guy named Rick Smith, who played for the White Sox. Another was Brian Little, who was a shortstop who played for the White Sox, the Yankees, and the Expos, and was an outstanding punter. In fact, was hired after his professional career to be a bunting coach. And the last, and his brother, who you may remember, is Grady Little, who managed the Red Sox and the Dodgers. And of course, his name is still controversial in Boston because he pulled Pedro Martinez in the playoffs. And Pedro still says Grady made the right decision for him. That I thrown 120 pitches, I was spent. I did not need to be out there.
Like Ricky.
Anyway, no.
One other thing, Carl, it's kind of ironic because I coached a guy that Dwight Clark's roommate. I was his teammate on the San Francisco 49ers. He was a defensive back named Johnny Jackson. He played at the University of Houston. He was an All-American defensive back. And so he was on that 49er team.
Look at all these connections. Yeah. I thought it could be the all-time receiver for 49ers. Then some guy named Jerry Rice came along. And then Rice was.
All right, Bob, thank you again. All right, Maxwell.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Maxwell is gonna give the trivia, but you're not here. So there's not any paper around here, but I have plenty of paper here for anybody that wants to participate. I didn't even think about that until I was looking at your smiling face, Maxwell, and say, oh my God, you're in Canada.
No, you're not looking at my smiling face anymore.
So who would like to or I have some paper if y'all know. Pens? I got something.
Thank you.
I didn't even think, oh, look at the company. Look, you're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Fred?
Oh,
Now, any last one?
No, I remember when.
Chat on? Anybody else? Inspector?
I'll tell you.
All right.
What's the topic, Maxwell?
Topic tonight is baseball in the history of the state of Maryland.
Oh, yeah. We're cracking.
We're all over that.
A little bit of sharpening, a little bit of sharpening your pencils for the.
Question, right?
All right.
Wait a minute,
Good
it's got that one that's messed up from last time. It sounds all the animation, give me 1 second.
All right, sir. One day I'm gonna remember.
That's okay.
What question are we on?
One.
All right. What was the first member of the modern Baltimore Orioles to be enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame? So that's 1954, the present. What was the first member, or who was the first member of the modern Baltimore Orioles to be enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame? And he was later a Houston Astro. Want me to go on to question 2?
Yeah.
All right. The American and National Leagues first began to award the most valuable player in 1931. The first 3 American League MVPs were all born in the state of Maryland. Name them.
It's not sharing.
It's not sure.
Hold on a second, tell them actually slow down.
Maxwell, hold on a second. Chris is trying to do something.
Trying to get it shared, hold on a second.
Baseball and history in the state of Maryland?
Yeah, every one of my questions has some relationship with the state of Maryland, and I don't repeat any correct answer. So you're not going to hear the same correct answer more than once. First member of the modern Baltimore Orioles to be enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That was
Is that
number.
what the answer now?
No, we're not.
That's so weird.
Here's number 2.
Number 2, the American National League first began to award the most valuable player in 1931. The first 3 American League MVPs were all born in the state of Maryland. Name them.
What?
Still need more time, or you want me to go to number 3?
Number 3.
Number 3. All right. Who won the American League batting title in 1924? And your clue is baseball in the state of Maryland.
Our response is the same as from. So. Which one's I was never Texas. This is PhD levels. Number 4, Max?
Number 4. There were 4 members of the 1994 Baltimore Orioles who are now in the Hall of Fame. Who are they? 4 players who are now in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, all. All right. I got very one. It's a start. That's usually the one question that you get right. Wiggins, Carl. Yeah, we were, oh, four of them. Good. Nail that is pretty. You're gonna take it there. But it should. We'll see. Ready for number 5?
Ready for number 5. What five Negro League players in the Hall of Fame played for Baltimore teams? Five Negro League players in the Hall of Fame played for Baltimore teams.
Number 6 is easier.
Number 6. I think this is the most difficult question. Number 6. Which player born in Baltimore achieved his 3,000th hit in Baltimore, and off which pitcher did he achieve his 3,000th hit?
It's not too bad. Anybody else want to? I forget. Son is go. I've already bought my copy. Amazon. Huh? I've already bought my copy of the book. What book?
Yeah, it is 50% off.
Last, there we go. $60.
Yeah. Number 7.
Number 7. All right. In 1996, a book was written about two well-known Orioles personalities entitled "Together We Were 11'9". Who were the personalities?
Really, Tom. Wait, it was 11. So this is supposed to good just there. Yeah. Who's that all it didn't get there? You say Eddie Goodell?
Right franchise.
Number 8.
All right, so number 8. What team did the 1901 Baltimore Orioles eventually become, and what teams eventually became the 1954 Baltimore Orioles?
Oil. You're right. Say 7. Don't you say?
Carl, I'm timing off you because when you're done, we're all done. You're the number 9.
All right, name every player in the Orioles Yankees blockbuster trade of 1976. So there's lots of points up for grabs in this one. 10 points.
Hey, John.
Martinez. And the series there. Or reverse series also. Well, should I see from that? Yeah, but
If you just let there players on both teams, you'll eventually get to 10 that you need.
So this is red one.
You're working these people over pretty good tonight, Maxwell.
Sorry,
I see some grimaces and some shaking heads and
that's more than I see.
tears. You ready to move on, or are you still
Ready.
working?
Ready for number
Ready.
10?
Yeah.
Who is Maryland married to?
Who was the state of Maryland married to?
The person in the state of Maryland was or married.
That's illegal.
Probably one of King Henry. Didn't play baseball.
Next.
Yeah,
Is that it?
that's
One
it.
more.
That's
You got a
it.
tiebreaker. You got a tiebreaker question. You want to do that now?
You want to do the tiebreaker, or you want to see if there's a tie first?
Let's do the tiebreaker.
All right. Okay. Name the only Orioles World Series MVP who's not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah. Hey, heard us. Who thought first? Stole from my friend's house. All right.
All right. So, the first member of the modern Baltimore Orioles to be enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Anybody?
Robin Roberts.
Robin Roberts is correct.
All Richards.
He's not in the Hall of Fame.
All Richards.
Should be with Robin.
All right. The American League and National Leagues first began to award the most valuable player in 1931. The first 3 American League MVPs were all born in the state of Maryland. Name them. Anybody?
Babe Ruth.
Fox. Jimmy Fox.
Jimmy Fox is correct. That's one of the answers.
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth's incorrect.
Lefty Grove.
Lefty Grove's correct. And can anyone name the third?
Frank Robinson.
No.
Not 1931.
It's after that.
He's going Beaumont.
All right. You've already named it. Was Jimmy Fox won it a second time? So if you said Lefty Groves, you get 1 point. If you said Jimmy Fox, you get 2 points.
Somebody on Yankees Twitter once said about the Kyle Tucker play trying to steal home. That was kind of Bush League.
I thought it was a great play.
I thought it was too. That was great.
American League batting title in 1924.
Babe Ruth.
The Sultan of SWAT. You got it. Batted .378 for his only batting crown in 22 years in the major leagues. The 4 members of the 1994 Orioles in the Hall of Fame.
Eddie Murray.
Incorrect. Eddie Murray was on Cleveland. Eddie Murray was on Cleveland. Anybody else?
Palmer, yeah,
Mike Messina.
Mike Messina is correct. That's 1.
holy cow.
Cal Ripken.
Cal Ripken's 2. And we got 2 more.
Jim Palmer.
No, he was retired. 1 was a big, tall relief pitcher. And the other was a designated hitter with a beard.
A designated hitter with a beard.
Eddie Murray.
No, for the 3rd
We
time.
already said that.
Already eliminated Eddie Murray.
Because
I said Eddie Murray first. Were you sleeping again?
Eddie Murray is still incorrect.
Good fun. But Eddie Murray.
All right. It was Lee Smith and Harold Baines.
Lee Smith wasn't a designated hitter.
Lee Smith could have been a designated hitter. He was a pretty good hitter when he was a pitcher for the Cubs.
And Lee Smith and who was Harold Baines.
Harold Baines. What 5 Negro League players in the Hall of Fame who played for Baltimore teams?
Satchel Paige.
No.
no.
Mike Campanella.
Roy Campanella is correct.
Wow. Okay.
Who said Eddie Murray?
Papa Bill.
Nope.
Oscar Charleston.
Josh Gibson. Josh Gibson.
Incorrect.
Cool Papa Bell.
Papa Bell. Cool
Not
Papa Bell.
Not cool, Papa Bell.
Is that Lou again?
Yeah.
All right. The others were Ray Dandridge, Leon Day, Biz Mackey, and Willie Wells.
Right, Dandridge. Who are
And,
you?
and Eddie Murray is not a correct answer to any question in this quiz. All right. We're ready for.
You must hate Eddie Murray.
All right. The 3,000 hit guy?
Al Kaline.
Correct. And who did he hit it off?
Emilio Pasquale.
Left-handed pitcher, won 20 games.
Big Emilio.
Oh, Cuellar?
Cuban Joe.
Mike Cuellar?
Didn't win the Cy Young Award. So that eliminates Cuellar.
It's same, sorry.
Isn't Andy Messersmith, but
Dave McNally.
correct. Dave McNally's correct. Number 7. Together we were 11'9". Who were they?
Weaver and Palmer.
Weaver and Palmer.
You got it.
Oh,
Weaver was
boy.
5'6", Palmer was 6'3". Number 8. What team? What team did the 1901 Baltimore Orioles become, and what teams eventually became the 1954 Baltimore Orioles?
The Highlanders, Yankees and Browns. St. Louis Browns.
Yep. Highlanders or Yankees, will take either. St. Louis Browns, I heard the correct answer. And what team were the Browns before they moved to St. Louis?
Milwaukee Brewers.
Milwaukee Brewers is correct.
Whoa.
Now number 9, the blockbuster.
Ken Singleton.
Scott McGregor. Tippy Martinez. Rick Dempsey. Pat Dobson. How's he doing?
Dobson's incorrect, but the others are all good.
Reggie Jackson.
No.
It was a free agent. He did play some ball. Yeah.
The Orioles actually would have done themselves a favor if they did trade him to the Yankees then.
Terry Whitfield. I'm assuming there were 10 players or 10 points.
There were 10 players, 5 went to Baltimore, 5 went to New York.
I think we're 7 short.
Yep.
Go ahead, and name them off, man.
Castellanos?
No, he was long retired by then. All right, but the players who went to the Orioles were Rick Dempsey.
Eddie Murray.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Rick Dempsey, Tippy Martinez, Rudy May, Scotty McGregor, and Dave Pagan. And the players who went to the Yankees were Doyle Alexander, Jimmy Freeman, Elrod Hendricks, Kenny Holtzman, and Grant Jackson. And the last question, who was Maryland married to?
King Henry.
Chris George?
King Charles.
King
Joe
Henry.
DiMaggio.
Oh.
What?
Maryland. Misspelled it.
Misspelled it.
My little league coach asked Bob, my little league coach asked me the same question, and I didn't know the answer either. So there. All right, the only World Series MVP who's not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, you want to see if we have a tie for it?
Rick Dempsey.
Rick Dempsey's correct. So do we have let's add up the points. Do we have 15 points? Anybody?
Anybody with 15 points?
Anybody with 15 points?
We have 13 at this table.
Who has 13?
Our table. And we got no points anywhere for Eddie Murray. Oh, we would have had 15 or 20.
You know what? Next time I do one of these, it'll be an Eddie Murray theme, and Eddie Murray will be the correct answer to every question.
And we'll still get them all wrong.
As well.
Yeah.
Why Maryland? Why Maryland?
What?
Why did you pick Maryland?
Because the convention's going there next month.
Anybody more than 13? Mike? Looks like you're the winner.
Our guys want to.
Well done, Mike.
All right, we used to do this when I first started. That was a prize for the winner.
They gotta split up the. I won. Right, I'll take that.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
You know, no problem. No problem.
Good. Wow.
But tonight's,
I deserve that for catching you in a hotel.
Don't worry about all the notes that I took in the book. I'm kidding. Again, we're not having a meeting next month. We're having kind of have a meeting if you want to go to the game.
Get Mike Caps talk to us about it. Book the grinder. He said he'd be happy to do it. So we'll have to get together probably an hour before the game. I'll try to get us the meeting room and have the restrooms there upstairs at the Space Cowboys Stadium. What is it? Spark Field? Champion Field?
Okay. So as soon as Mike gets all that down, I'll send all the information out plus his address. Yeah.
Oh, I just want to bring something to the attention of the group. There's one article in the journal last week about something called the Miracle League. And it has to do with a team that really has disabled and autistic folks playing 2-inning games, and they're used by other groups, and they can be old or young. But anyway, it's a very effective article. If you don't mind, I might write this up, send it around in the event we're thinking of some sort of public service project.
Yeah,
You might be interested.
most definitely.
That's a good idea. I have a question. Was it last month? No, I missed.
No,
The guy that goes to speak, was he here speaking about?
Gary Schulte.
Yeah, the memories program.
Yeah, and it's been very successful in San Marcos. I think it was the year you presented there. And Bobby Brown spoke, and he spoke about how successful he just started it. how much those people, so there were people that wouldn't speak or do anything, they go in and talk baseball, and all of a sudden they were just.
That's right.
They could remember from.
He wants us to start a
30,
chapter
40
here in
years ago.
Houston, so you volunteering to turn?
No, I don't have the time,
No,
but
how
I
you
think it's a very
feel?
worthwhile project.
It is very worthwhile. Anyway, I'll send out.
I wonder if anything happened, just thought. I'm asking our president for an update, but
I haven't got any responses from anybody that said they'd be interested in starting a chapter here. Ira wanted to know. So the moment somebody wants to volunteer, you can maybe start a chapter here. But like you said, we're all very busy, right? But it is a worthwhile cause.
By the way, how do people think the Astros do the second half of the season?
Well, if it's anything like the first half of the season, they'll do really great, and then toward the end, they'll sort of get real tired. Which is what they acted like the last 3 games. So we'll see.
back there, probably won't so lackluster.
Trade for one soda.
Yes. No. I think one of the best things they did was not sign Hooray with
Right.
Pena, who was in Sugarland. We signed Hooray, and then they wouldn't have had the money to sign Alvarez. So
That's right.
well, that thing worked out better than they could do. Yeah.
Okay, so those of you who are going to Baltimore, if I don't see you at the game the first weekend of August, maybe I'll see some of you in Baltimore. If not, the next time we will meet is Monday, September the 19th. Same place, same time, with Chris Rawls, the Portable Houston Museum guy. Till then, try to stay cool. Try to stay cool. Good. Oh, what did you say, Mac? Did y'all say anything?
I didn't say anything.
All right. I'll see you in Baltimore.
See you in Baltimore, Joe. Oh, by the way, there's an excellent ceremony from the home run derby tonight with Albert Pujols. If you have a chance.
Wait, what? What did you say? What'd you say?
I said there was an excellent
Albert Pujols won his round.
There was an excellent ceremony tonight about Albert Pujols at the All-Star game.
So, I mean, the home run thing's still going on?
Yeah, there was a ceremony where all the players were congratulating Pujols on his career.
Wow. Okay.
It's television worth watching.
Check that out. Thanks, man.
Right here.